I'm Diana Steele, and I'm here at Fresh Street Market in West Vancouver, and today I'm talking about Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts are part of the cruciferous family. They are very high in a phytochemical called glucosinolates, and glucosinolates are metabolized in our GI system to produce isothiocyanates, try and say that word, and indoles, and these have cancer-fighting properties. So they part of the cruciferous family, along with broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and bok choy even. They all contain these nutrients that are cancer-fighting. Brussels sprouts, they grow on a stalk, and so when you buy them at the grocery store, you'll either find them off the stalk like this, or you can buy them when they're in season on the stalk. I used to think you had to just cut them off, but in fact what you can do is twist them off of the stalk, and they come off very easily. So that's something that I learned this year when I was growing them myself. And actually, if you leave them just after the first frost, they're supposed to be a little bit sweeter. So I didn't do that. I picked mine already. But so Brussels sprouts, some great things to know about them. First of all, when you're buying them, make sure that you're getting some that don't have these little yellow leaves. And if they do have yellow leaves, just take those off. You can cut off the bottom just to trim it before you actually cook it, and then make sure that all those loose leaves are gone and give them a rinse. If they're a larger Brussels sprout, you may want to cut them in half. Or when you're cooking them, if you're cooking them whole, if you cut a little X in the stalk right through, it will allow them to open up. And just making that X there, so that the heat can go right through to the center without making the outside leaves too soft. So that way you can cook them as a whole. Otherwise, cut them in half. You can toss them with a little bit of olive oil, and then put the cut side down on your pan when you're roasting them, and it will caramelize the inside of your Brussels sprout a little bit to make it a little bit more flavorful. Make sure you don't overcook them. When you are, if you're one of those people that boils them, you might notice when you take off the lid, it's kind of a sulfur smell, and so that means you probably overcooked them. When you take your knife and just insert it slightly into the stem, it should just barely go in. So you want it to be just tender, and that way it's not going to be overcooked. Boiling is not the best method for cooking them because they do lose a lot of their nutritional value. Brussels sprouts are very high in vitamin C. Half a cup is going to give you almost half of the vitamin C you need for your day. They're also very high in vitamin K. So if you are taking Coumadin, a blood thinner, you wouldn't want to eat massive amounts of Brussels sprouts because they act as a blood clotter, the vitamin K. So be mindful of that. Also a good source of beta carotene, and they're very low in calories. There's only 30 calories in half a cup, and they have 3 grams of fiber. So there's so many reasons why you'd want to eat these Brussels sprouts. When you buy them, if you get a whole bunch of them, you can just wrap them in a paper towel and put them in a plastic bag and keep them in your crisper. And they should last for a couple of weeks and still stay fresh. And as I mentioned, make sure you take off those loose leaves and the yellow ones so that you just have a nice little baby cabbage to include in your meal. You can roast them, you can steam them, you can braise them, you can add them to a stir fry, and you can eat them raw. And grating them will help increase that enzyme activity that makes those great phytochemicals active in fighting cancer. So you can put them in a salad. Lots of options.
Thanks, Diana, for that. If you have any nutrition questions, you can contact Diana. A couple of ways to do that. There's her phone number, her website, and on Twitter @Eating4Energy.